Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 What Matters Writing Competition Annual Awards Ceremony. It is a great pleasure to be here and to host so many of these writers here in their creative brilliance, and as well as their families and their teachers who have supported, who have challenged, and have also inspired their creative expressions. We meet here today on the land of the Baramatigal people of the Darug Nation, the traditional custodians of this land. The Baramatigal have shared stories on this land for thousands of years, stories that connect people to place, to river, and to sky. Storytelling has always been a way to keep culture and knowledge alive, and we continue to learn from those stories today. I acknowledge their elders, both past and present, and any First Nations people here with us today. It's my pleasure to acknowledge a number of people who've been kind enough to join us today. Of course, Professor the Honourable Bob Carr, former Premier of New South Wales and Foreign Minister. Thank you for being here. Of course, on behalf of the university, we have Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Kevin Dunn, as well as Pro-Chancellor Dr. Linda O'Brien AM. Members, of course, of the board of the Institute are here as well, and I have a pleasure to welcome Patricia Amphlett, Catherine Dovey, and of course the chair, the Honourable John Faulkner. I also have the distinct pleasure to recognize each of our sponsors who have a representative here today. First, may I please point to Alicia Green, representing Revesby Workers Club, a longtime supporter of the Whitlam Writing Competition, without whose support this would not really be possible. So thank you very much, Alicia, for representing them. Chairman Patrick Gallagher, AM of Allen and Unwin, has joined us today. Where are you, Patrick? There he is, second row. Thank you so much for coming. Doug White of Reach Out has joined us, as well as the creative director of Maeve Marsden of Varuna, the National Writers' House in Katoomba. Executive Director Michael Campbell of Westwards has joined us, as has CEO Sophie Groom of Writing New South Wales. Welcome, Sophie. Dr. Bernard Cohen of the Writing Workshop has joined us, and I understand, Bernard, this is your 18th year of the 21 years of this competition that you've supported us with your presence, so thank you, Bernard. Stephanie Smith of MOAD is not able to join, but we're very grateful to MOAD for their long-standing support of this competition. I also want to have an express acknowledgement to Susie Carlton, who has been the new sponsor for the Graham Freudenberg Award. And as our newest sponsor, I think we're very, very grateful to her continuing support into the future. We have also two of our ambassadors here today, which I want to make particular attention to. Felicity Castagna, who is an award-winning artist whose book Girls and Boys as Cars was adapted for the stage. Felicity, where are you? Thank you, Felicity. Felicity, of course, is not only an ambassador, but also one of the markers. And so we're very, very privileged to have you continue your engagement, Felicity. We also have, of course, Jumana Abdu, who is a medical doctor, as well as an award-winning writer, whose recent book, Translations, was shortlisted for the Stella Prize. And of course, and this may not be as well known, she is the 2013 overall winner of the What Matters Writing Competition. So thank you, Jumana, for joining us and for bringing this full circle. It's now my pleasure to call upon Deputy Vice-Chancellor Professor Kevin Dunn to provide a welcome on behalf of Western Sydney University. Professor Dunn has spent his career helping people understand communities, diversity, and belonging. He is passionate about supporting young people to have their voices heard, and I'm honored to welcome him here today. We are very grateful for his time in joining in our celebrations of your voices today. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, John. Students, families, teachers, ambassadors, sponsors, members of the Whitlam family, the Whitlam board, colleagues, distinguished guests, welcome. Budjari Gamara Walami, I just said good afternoon, welcome in the language of the Darug people, and thank you for the acknowledgement of country there, John. Western Sydney University is immensely proud to support the work of the Whitlam Institute and its flagship Civics engagement program for young people, What Matters Writing Competition, now in its 21st year. 21st years. What Matters Writing Competition is open to school students, as you all know, from years 5 to 12 from across Australia. Entrants are free to express their views on any matter that they care about. Part writing exercise, part civics and citizenry. The What Matters competition is a perfect opportunity to empower students to raise their voices on issues that are important to them and know that their perspectives are valuable no matter their age, their background or viewpoint, and indeed that those voices will be heard, that will be read. And you, talented students here, have done just that. Using only 600 words, you have shared with us what matters to you, what gives meaning to your life, how you, or indeed others, can make things better. Your submissions are brave, deeply personal and diverse. Young people make the bravest and most compelling writers because they are uncompromising truth tellers out of the mouths of babes. The competition is a platform upon which the voices of Australia's next generation are amplified. Over 6,500 submissions this year. 6,500 submissions. What a corpus of writing and expression. The competition has grown into the largest writing competition for young people in Australia. The largest writing competition for young people in Australia. Today, together, we're thrilled to celebrate your efforts. It's a pleasure to be able to greet and celebrate the work of each of you, this assembled brilliant young writers that we have with us here today, their teachers and their families. I met some of you, it's great to talk to you. I'm pleased to thank each of the wonderful competition ambassadors as well for their inspirational energy and support for this competition. Thank you, ambassadors. Also wish to recognise the exceptionally generous donors and partners, some of who have been mentioned by John, without whom our community reach and the competition's success would not be anywhere near as successful. Thank you. It's a testament to the Whitlam legacy that this competition has long enjoyed the patronage of our former New South Wales State Premier and former Federal Foreign Minister, Professor the Honourable Bob Carr. And also another testament is the enduring support of the Whitlam family to this competition and of course the Whitlam Board and Institute. Thank you all for your attendance, and I commend each young person here today for sharing so generously their talents and insights. Please enjoy your afternoon and welcome once again to the Whitlam Institute here within Western Sydney University.
Thank you, Deputy Vice-Chancellor. It's now that exciting part of the program where we get to announce the category winners. I will introduce and then call upon each prize presenter to come to the podium. The presenter will announce each of the award winners, and the students, when you hear your name, please come forward and meet the presenter and be presented with the prize, and of course be prepared to have your photo taken just over here to the left. So now for the first prize. I'm very pleased to call upon Dr. Felicity Castagna to present the awards for the 5-6 category. Felicity is an award-winning Western Sydney University author whose novels often explore family, migration, and what it means to grow up in Australia today. She works closely with young people, running workshops that encourage them to find ways of finding and using their voice through storytelling. As well as being an author, Felicity is a lecturer here in arts and creative writing at Western Sydney University. Now, these awards have been donated by Dr. Bernard Cohen of the Writing Workshop. The Writing Workshop has been educating and inspiring young people since 2006. They have worked with more than 100,000 children ages 5 to 18 over the years, and they have kindly donated a full-day writing workshop to the years 5, 6, and 7, 8 category winners and runners-up. Additionally, I want to point out the generosity of Alan and Unwin, who provided a book pack to each winner and runner-up today, so for which we are eternally grateful. So in addition to those prizes and our sponsors, each category winner will receive $350 and each runner-up $200 from the Whitlam Institute. So without any more ado, welcome Felicity.
Thank you. Hello, thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here and to have been here for multiple years and got to read so many amazing stories by young people, stories which I think, quite frankly, I would struggle to write as a professional writer. I think the work that you are producing is incredibly impressive and wholly complex and moving. So thanks for allowing me to read them. I'm going to begin with the runner-up for the Year 5-6 category. This was an incredible personal essay that began by saying that over 31% of Australians' population was born overseas, then embarked on an incredibly cohesive, well-organised argument about the contribution that so many people make to Australia coming from many different countries. That essay is called Multiculturalism in Australia, a tapestry of cultures weaving unity, identity and prosperity by Ahmed Sajed from New Lambton South Public School. Congratulations, Ahmed. You're a wonderful work. Thank you. And now for the winner of the 5-6 category, I have to say I completely don't believe that this is written by a Year 6 person. I would struggle very much, and I think many of my university students would struggle to write a story with such incredible, immense intensity. The imagery was beautiful. The construction of the story was completely flawless. It was a beautiful piece that taught its audience about stories and how stories can be passed across families and across generations by the things that we remember and that we carry with us. And that incredible story was Family and Time, and it is written by Ria Zhu of Ravenswood School for Girls. Can you come forward, Ria? That was absolutely amazing, that story. You can take that and yes, and where is just in front of the fire? Yeah, get used to it. Go ahead. Great.
Thank you, Felicity, and congratulations to both of our winners, Ahmed and Rhea. When we read these pieces, we often think, how could it be possible for these young people to write this well? Then you meet them, and that's why. And I absolutely love the uniform, covered with bling, of all the other recognitions he's already received. But I'm not to put any pressure on any of the young writers in the room, but our 2023 winner did go on to a few remarkable successes herself. So I hope that's into your future as well. It's now my pleasure to call upon Bernard Cohen to represent his writing workshop and to present the awards for the Year 7 and 8 categories. Again, I want to thank Bernard again for, on behalf of the writing workshop, who's donated these awards. Bernard, of course, is also a multi-award-winning author and the founder of the writing workshop. He's passionate about teaching and writing to teaching reading and writing to young people. He has said that making literature is a brilliant way to test ideas, to understand the world and the beginnings of and beings in it, and to learn to control the power of language in an imaginative and constructive way. Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you very much, and it is a massive pleasure to be here again and to read so many of your incredible pieces, which this year I feel have really brought the creativity in with the what matters together. And the four people who we've given awards to, I thought, all wrote really tremendous pieces. Ria and Ahmed, you've just met. As mentioned, I started working with What Matters 18 years ago. This is the 18th time. Since then, I've grown into an older generation, got much hairier, and all of you people who are today's award winners have been born. We aim to share our passion for writing with young people all over. In the last 3 weeks, I've been in some schools very nearby, in Strathfield and Blacktown, Strathfield Girls, Blacktown South Public, and all the way up to Gamilaroi country to work at Warialda High. And I know that there's some Gamilaroi people in this room, so I would like to acknowledge your presence here and pay my respects to you. One of the things you young writers are going to have to do in the next few years is to invent your own forms, because forms are moving. Forms are moving. Most reading that we do is no longer in books, and it is up to you to bring that power and that creativity into your writing. And I've seen that in this Year 7-8 category with your strong interest in form. And so I am utterly thrilled to announce the Year 7-8 runner-up for 2025, William Harding, Year 8, Gymea Technology High School, for his piece, His Present, Our Future, which is an incredibly strong bringing out of how much junk there is in the world, how we are surrounded by it. It reminds me of the work of Chen Qiufan, the Chinese science fiction writer, in terms of his vision of the future. So congratulations, William. Please come forward and receive your award. This is not choreographed.
Perfect. Just kind of lower that award for me so I can see your face. Beautiful. Congratulations. Thanks.
And speaking of play with forms and the combination of fictive skills with deep thought and philosophy, I'm delighted to announce that the winner of the What Matters competition in the Year 7-8 category for 2025 is Isabel Chia from in Year 8 at Danebank Anglican School for Girls with Think Outside the Paper House. As Isabella writes insightfully and critical in her winning entry, they told me to build a house, so I folded my tests into walls. Congratulations, Isabella. We look forward to working creatively with you and all the Year 5, 6 and 7-8 winners. Please come forward and receive your award.
Thank you, Bernard, and congratulations, Isabella and William. Now I have the honor to call Doug White, content producer at Reach Out, forward to present the next prize. Now, for more than 20 years, Reach Out, the sponsor of our Year 9-10 category awards, has been helping young people access support as they experience mental health challenges. Since their launch, Reach Out has been connecting and supporting young people and their networks to a range of mental health services that are available when and where they are needed. The Year 9-10 category winner will be invited to undertake a tailored program with Reach Out, meeting the team and receiving professional training. They will also be offered an opportunity to be paid a $200 amount to produce a feature article for the Reach Out website. Welcome, Doug.
Thanks, John. Thank you so much for having me back again this year to announce the runner-up and the winner of the Year 9-10 category. At Reach Out, young people's perspectives, their lived experiences and their creativity are at the very heart of our organisation. They shape the content we produce, the issues we advocate for, and the services that we offer in the mental health space. And reading the quality and diversity of entries in this competition always reinforces to me how much your voices matter. So to kick it off, I'm thrilled to announce that the runner-up in this category is a piece called Marked by Love. It's a moving story about loving and losing, of connection and heartbreak, and the feelings that inevitably persist. It got me. So congratulations to John Elias from Christian Brothers High School. And the winning entry for the Year 9-10 category is a story called When the Cameras Leave, a piece that explores the ways that conflict and war is witnessed from afar. The prose is sparse, but the details are carefully chosen. We're asked to think beyond the headlines and the images we often see, and to sit with the silence and discomfort that lingers long after we've stopped watching. A huge congratulations to Charlie Shearer from Knox Grammar School.
Thank you so much, Doug, and congratulations, John and Charlie. The next award is kindly donated by Writing New South Wales, and I will call up Sophie Groom, CEO of Writing New South Wales, in a moment. Writing New South Wales is the state's leading provider of services to writers. It is a non-profit or not-for-profit organization, formerly known as the New South Wales Writers' Centre. They have been providing quality support to writers for our state since 1991. The Year 11-12 winner will receive a one-year membership to Writing New South Wales and will be given an opportunity to participate in a one-day writing workshop. Sophie is the CEO and is passionate about giving people the tools, the skills, and the confidence to tell their stories and connect with others through words. Sophie.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today to celebrate the voices of young writers and to present the Year 11-12 category. At Writing New South Wales, we've been supporting writers for nearly 35 years, as John mentioned. We provide mentorship, courses and community for writers at every stage of their journey. Why? Because we believe writing matters. It matters to individuals, to communities and to culture. It gives us a way to understand ourselves and each other. It shapes how we see the world and how the world sees us. And that's why competitions like this are so important. They remind us that young people have something urgent, moving and insightful to say. Alice Walker once said, "The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any." I think that's why essay writing in particular is so important. It's an act of claiming power. Through their words, young writers show us that they have something to say, that their perspectives matter, and that their voices can change the way we think. And this year's shortlisted essays all did exactly that. The runner-up wrote a piece that captures something profoundly true about being young and just about being human. It shines a light on the silences between us, the things we don't say to each other. The pain we hide behind a smile, the moments when asking, "Are you okay?" could change everything. It's tender, empathetic, and beautifully written, and it challenges us all to listen more deeply and to connect with more honesty and vulnerability. I'm delighted to announce the runner-up in this category, Chloe Parkin from the Illawarra Grammar School, for her essay, "What Matters is What We Don't Say." This year's winner's essay is powerful, heartfelt, and necessary. It reminds us that words are not abstract, they carry weight, they can wound, but they can also honour, respect, and heal. The piece calls on all of us to listen to Indigenous voices, to value the culture and histories that have shaped this land for thousands of years, and to ensure that acknowledgement is never an empty ritual but a genuine act of respect. The writer's voice is proud, resilient, and unflinching. Their words tell us not only what matters, but why it matters, for them, for their community, and ultimately for all of us. It's my honour to announce the winner of the Year 11 and 12 Essay Writing Award, Lakia Chatfield from Coonabarabran High School, for acknowledgement of country.
Thank you, Sophia, and again, congratulations to Chloe and Lakia. It's now my pleasure to welcome in the next speaker and the next sponsor, Westwards. Westwards' mission is to facilitate and magnify the cultural, social, and educational impact of stories of people from Western Sydney. Westwards, or Western Sydney's Literature Development Organisation for Young People, is offering 3 lucky schools the chance to host a 1-hour virtual author visit. These prizes have been randomly drawn from the shortlisted entries. With more than 35 years of experience in the arts, Westward's CEO, Michael Campbell, has worked as a dancer, director, writer, festival leader, and producer, including time as a festival director of the Brisbane Writers' Festival, and working with Opera Australia. Michael has been recognized nationally as a cultural leader and a champion of creativity, community, and the power of storytelling. Michael, you're welcome.
Well, thank you. Lovely to be back here again. I think this is our 7th or 8th year back here. The stories were fantastic this year. We are very, very, very proud to see over the course of years the change and development of the stories, especially coming out of COVID and the resurgence of story and its importance. I agree with Bernard where form is starting to be change and to develop as voices and the experience of our young people find new forms for their voices and their stories, because I firmly believe that we are our stories. It is the narratives we tell ourselves and each other that create our past and allow us to see the possibilities for our future. These stories tell us who we are as individuals and as a society. Woven into each word, utterance, we realise what we stand for, and our hopes and our dreams. Stories interpret our worlds, and through them we find our place in the world. Stories allow us to communicate everything that lies at the core of our humanity. They allow us to discover and share what matters to us and what matters to all of us. And there is nothing more than what every writer in the room has done today than sharing your story. It is an act of vulnerability and of trust. To hold one's story is accepting the core of their humanity, and it builds empathy and understanding, which is why your voices, your stories, your thoughts, your ideas are so important, and why this competition is so important. Thank you to the Whitlam Institute for supporting this for 21 years. We're proud to be part of it. As John said, Westwards Prize is bringing authors into schools in the way that they need them, whether that's a workshop or an author talk, whatever they need. And so working from the shortlisted schools, and I think, Sarah, was there over 100 of them this year?
120.
Over 120 schools were on the shortlist out of the 6.5 thousand entries. And Sarah set up this wonderful thing on the that I haven't seen before or used before, which is this virtual kind of Wheel of Fortune, where she pressed the button and the wheels virtually spun, and out came 3 schools that that won the prize for an author going into their schools. They were the Heights School in Adelaide, the Nature School in Port Macquarie, and the Bayanami Public School here in Parramatta. Congratulations to all those schools, those shortlisted authors that managed to get their school the author visit. We're proud to be part of this. Congratulations.
Thank you, Michael and Westwards, and congratulations to those 3 schools that were selected. It's now my pleasure to move to the Allen and Unwin Prize, which will be presented by Jumana Abdu. Allen and Unwin is Australia's leading independent publisher. In 2023, they were the Publisher of the Year, the 15th time they have won that award. And in this year, they have been recognized as the inaugural Children's Publisher of the Year. Allen and Unwin will award $1,000 to the student in years 5 to 8 who best showcases their passion for storytelling. Entrants are judged on narrative skills, originality, and how well their story takes the reader on a clear and a compelling journey. Allen and Unwin have also provided book packs to all of the award recipients. And my warm thanks again to Patrick Gallagher, who's joined us today, the founder and CEO of Allen and Unwin, and thank you again. I would now like to introduce Dr. Jumana Abdu. Jumana is the author of Translations, which was shortlisted this year for the 2025 Stella Prize, and the Mudd Literary Prize, and a New South Wales Premier's Literary Award. She was named the Sydney Morning Herald's Best Young Novelist in 2025, and her widely published fiction and essays have won many, many awards over the years. She is, when she is not writing, she is a medical doctor, and now an ambassador for the What Matters writing competition. We are especially proud of Jumana as she is an alumnus of the What Matters writing competition, winning the competition herself in 2013 at just 14 years of age. She drew her inspiration from the muted impact of stories from the news relating to children in conflict zones, and in particular an ABC documentary on the Syrian war. And if you don't mind, I returned to that piece and read it again myself, and I wanted to read a few extracts from that, from the Year 9 student, 14 years old, from 2013. I removed my heart with my own hands and threw it away. I don't want this heart. I have become used to not having a heart at all, said the boy as thunderous rumble echoed in the distance. Do you hear the sounds of the planes? These are the words of an 11-year-old Ibrahim. It's shocking at first to think that these words were spoken by a child at an age of supposed innocence and blissful ignorance. This boy, Ibrahim, is not a child. His youthful essence disappeared with his home, his education, and his safety. And the appalling reality that Ibrahim isn't the only victim of a stolen childhood. We see a picture of the ruins of Aleppo, Syria. There is one vital question we are forgetting to ask. where are the children? Because despite the numerous boys and girls present, there are no children left. Thank you, Jemana. You are proof positive of the attainment of our highest ambitions for this competition. We are delighted to welcome you back as an ambassador and to the Whitlam Institute, and we thank you very much for presenting this next award. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel quite emotional. I wasn't expecting you to reread that piece. I think sometimes you feel scared to look back on what you've written years ago, but I think sometimes it might be the best piece I've ever written. I don't know if I'll ever reach that status again, and yet reading the pieces that were runner-ups and winners for this year, I doubt I would have stood a chance if I had submitted my essay in 2025. I'm so impressed looking into the faces of our future novelists, our future journalists. It's looking bright. And this prize goes to a student between year 5 and 8. And when I read it, it made me think of music, how you can teach someone the algorithm to write a hit, and there's, you know, the verse and the chorus, etc. You can sort of teach people how to piece it together, and yet then there's people like Mozart who just have an ear, and you can never really teach someone an ear for a melody like that. And reading this piece, it starts with the warm and melancholic chord of a girl and her father lighting a lantern, and the warmth of that lantern floats over the entire piece and comes to settle over the end. And right at the beginning, there is a really poignant note that just sort of struck me, where the young girl is told to make a wish for her lantern, and she says, "I wish for time," which is such a beautiful wish in this relentless day and age where it feels like time just continues to shrink. I still feel moved by that piece after having read it quite a while ago, and that's a testament to its power. So it's my great joy to announce the winner of the Allen and Unwin Prize is Ria Zhu from Ravenswood Girls School for her piece Family and Time.
Well, thank you very much. For those inspiring words, Jemana, and of course those inspiring words, Ria, as well. I was able to read the shortlisted ones, and that was again that prize, of course, was for that particular type of storytelling and evocative of imagery. And so the linkage between Jemana's piece and the piece submitted this year is really quite amazingly strong. So I look forward to what Ria does in 9 years hence. The next prize I want to award is the Artistic Merit Award, and I'll call upon Maeve Marsden, who's the creative director for Varuna, to award this prize. Now, Varuna's mission is to be a catalyst for artistic excellence. Through its community programs, Varuna seeks to foster a deeper appreciation to Australian and of Australian literature, and to share that transformative power of the written word. The Artistic Merit Award is for a work that possesses special imaginative qualities, achieved through exceptionally creative use of language and/or outstanding concepts. And today it will be presented by Varuna and its creative director, Maeve. This prize will offer the winner access to their self-paced online writing courses, and their entry will be published in Varuna's esteemed e-newsletter. Maeve is a writer herself, as well as a producer and a theatre maker, creating work across both main stage and independent venues and festivals. Alongside her leadership of Varuna, she is also the creative director of the Blue Mountains Writers Festival. Welcome, Maeve.
Thank you so much, John, and thank you to all of you. Varuna, for those of you who don't know, is a writer's residency, which means that we've got a big old beautiful yellow house up on Darug and Gundungurra country, and every week 6 different writers arrive at the house to find time and space to write. And if some of you winning today go on to have creative careers, and there's so many different ways to have creative careers, it's really important to remember that you also need a community and you need networks of writers. And so what we try to do at Varuna is offer the chance for you to find like-minded people or people whose views and writing styles contrast from yours and to connect with them. So I hope that each and every one of you, once you're 18, apply to come along to Varuna. It's like a nerdy school camp, really. Jemana's been, we've got some incredible alumni in our midst. Each year we've got a small team up at Varuna, and each year a different one of us gets to assess the What Matters writing competition, and it's a coveted task because it's so exciting to get to read this kind of work. This year my lovely colleague Jayla Hallett read the entries, and she said she was just so impressed by all of them, the calibre of work from these young people, how they articulated the thematic issues and ideas in their work was excellent. We wish you all the best in your future endeavours. There's a lot been made of how young you all are to be so talented and so young, but I also wanted to point out how much you managed to achieve in so few words. People, take whole novels to affect the kind of emotion that you were able to in just a couple of pages. And so that in particular is an incredible skill, and one that I think was really exemplified by the winner of this entry, of this category. This entry, nestled in the numbers, funnily enough, is about the way that we test and rank and compete as young people. So it's ironic that you then went on to win a competition with a piece of writing that talks about the other things that have value in our lives that can't necessarily be ranked or measured. It's a beautiful piece of work that, as I said, creates an emotional impact in so few words. So a great congratulations to Claire Hyo from Year 8 at Tara Anglican School for Girls.
Well, congratulations, Claire, and thank you so much, Maeve. It's now the penultimate prize. I would like to call upon the Honourable John Faulkner, the Chair of the Whitlam Institute, to introduce the presenter of the Graham Freudenberg Prize, which will be presented by Professor the Honourable Bob Carr. John Faulkner, please.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to the Whitlam Institute. Well, the Graham Freudenberg Prize is really a central element of the What Matters writing competition. Graham Freudenberg, and by the way, you may have heard his name before, pronounced Graham Freudenberg, but for many, many years, I used to say Graham Freudenberg because his nickname to all of us was Freudy. But Gough Whitlam, whenever he was there, corrected me, "Oh, comrade, it's Freudenberg. I wish you'd get it right." So hence our pronunciation. But Graham had an unchallenged status as the greatest political speechwriter, the greatest speechwriter that our nation had ever produced. For 40 years, he wrote speeches, starting with former federal Labor leader Arthur Calwell, then Gough Whitlam, then Bob Hawke, 2 prime ministers, and then at the state level, 3 premiers: Neville Wran, Barry Unsworth, and of course Bob Carr. And after Graham's death, the Institute decided it would be a great thing to ensure in the decades to come that young Australians could be inspired by Freudi's incredible contribution to our nation. Hence the Graham Freudenberg Prize, which presents outstanding commentary on Australian social and political issues and argues cogently for policy ideas and solutions. What we do is we fly the winner of the prize to Canberra, along with an accompanying parent, and for a couple of days, all expenses paid trip to really experience what the Australian Parliament is like. Media, politicians, officers from both sides of Australian politics, what the working lives, if you like, of a political speechwriter or journalist is like in Canberra. So it's a really unique prize, and we're very, very grateful that Susie Carlton, who herself was a really close friend of Freudy, is the sponsor of this particular prize. But we've also now, since the prize's inception, been very lucky because Bob Carr, the former Premier of New South Wales, who of course himself had a very close working relationship with Freudy, has always generously presented this prize to the winner and engaged in the entries that are provided, and we very deeply appreciate that. It's a great thing for people as actively involved in public life as Bob was, to after that public life in a sense ends, after they leave Parliament, to keep so active in the community, playing such an important role. We are very, very grateful to Bob Carr for again being involved in the awarding of the Graham Freudenberg Prize. Friends, please welcome him.
John, thank you for that welcome. I write in order to know what I think. I remembered the quote, but I forgot who said it. I wonder if, here's a quiz for our ambassadors. You get a free copy of my, a prize copy signed by the author of my Diary of a Foreign Minister if you put your hand up and get it right. You're all such literary figures. You're also well-read, formidably well-read. Have you demonstrated? Anyone like to have a go at it? Normally you can get away by attributing anything to Tolstoy, because he wrote so much, no one's going to dispute it. If I'd said, as Tolstoy said, I write in order to know what I think, no one here would have disputed it. And to a lesser extent, attributing anything to George Orwell or Winston Churchill, because they wrote so much. Have you got an answer? Come on, it's a great prize. It'll be an heirloom, a family heirloom.
Derrida has the concept of logocentrism, which is similar.
Yeah, well, you're sailing close. You're sailing close. It was the American writer Joan Didion. Did you say that? Yeah, well, go with the first instinct. I think that's the full quote is, and I googled it to find out with surprise. It could just as easily have been Tolstoy. The quote is, "I write to know what I think," is a variation of a famous sentiment expressed by author Joan Didion, who stated, quote, "I write entirely to find out what I'm thinking, what I'm looking at, what I see, and what it means." And I think that goes to the essence of what the young people here have daringly done, and that is to put their deepest thoughts, their truest thoughts, down on paper. Geraldine Brooks, whose novels you might have read, wrote a book called Memorial Days about her response to the death of her long-term partner, Tony Horowitz. I both knew them when they were young journalists, and I was a young politician trying to get in their good books. Years ago in Sydney in the 1980s, would you believe it? And she said at the end of a book, reflecting on the death of Tony, he died jogging, he was 60 years of age, in good health. It was a great shock to her. She quoted Ernest Hemingway, the novelist, saying, "Write the truest thing you can." And she said, she concludes a book about Tony, about the bereavement experience, by saying, "This is the truest thing to me." And it's a spirit that remarkably young people captured in the writings I've read and in those books you've invoked. It's good to see Ria from Ravenswood. I had an encounter with Ravenswood 2 weeks ago. I'm on a board that oversights museums in Sydney, working with John Faulkner, who's got a special responsibility for the archives. But I was looking at the Police Museum, that little museum down at Circular Quay, and it is terrific. It is terrific. What it says about the criminal underworld of Sydney, it's really got to be renamed, in my view, Sin City, and get people to go in and see the pictures of what looks like a genetically criminal class. They look criminals. They all look the part of garrotters and kidnappers and safecrackers. You've got to go and look at it. But when I was there just testing how it works as a museum, in came a big group from Ravenswood, Year 5. And I ended up having a chat with them. And I said, what are you here to study? They said, well, we're studying bush rangers and the gold rush. And I thought, that's a terrific way of capturing their imagination. And I was talking to one group and I said, it's interesting to me that all of you Chinese background. They said, yes. And I said, well, what province did your parents come from? And I got, Guangzhou and Fujian and Liaoning and Hunan. So we had a good conversation. But there is the pool of Australian history. They've adopted Australia, and they're there at the Police Museum studying bushrangers and the gold rush, which is a long way from Chinese dynastic history, except the gold rushes brought from southern China a big population, the first Chinese in Australia. But I love seeing one of our museums rendered such an attractive teaching device. And here we have in Ria a girl from that school, and reflecting that heritage, now committed to Australia, her family's country of adoption, and its success, which she will enrich. The great themes are in the essays. I read all the great challenging themes. There's family above all, family. And you're very conscious when you're 15 or 16 of being in this group. Your family is your first group, it's your support, and your test, your challenge, family relationships. I've just read an Australian novel. I'm going to recommend it to you because it's largely about family, but also about our country's character. And it's one that I knew existed, but I was slow to get round to reading. I was so glad I did. I read it with great pleasure. It's by Martin Boyd, called A Difficult Young Man. And it's about a sprawling family, English, straddling England and Australia, not the great squatting class, but people who were mixing those heritages in the 1890s, early 1900s. And it really does, it made me think about another theme that comes out in your contributions about mental health. How a young man in this somewhat privileged family, decidedly privileged family, can be troubled by demons and, in the language of today, be somewhere on the spectrum, challenged. And it made me sympathetic to such a psychology, that a young person could be driven by circumstances to feel that the forces of life will always come down against them. And it made me feel deep sympathy for youngsters whose lives work out in that way. But such a heavy theme is dealt with you. These pieces of writing deal with gender, they deal with the challenges of family, relationships in family, they deal with age, migration, diversity, youth, especially the one that wins the Freudenberg Prize. all these big themes, theme of loss, all dealt with in this writing. And can I say a word about Freudenberg? He didn't get a university education. He came to Sydney as a young journalist. He had a cadetship. And he got all sorts of newsroom assignments. They sent him out to stand on Broadway and cover the arrival of the Queen on her royal visit in 1954. And he said he was touched by the occasion. Support for the monarchy running so strong, even with a young person, with reformist instincts in his politics. So he got that training. He just taught him, he said he'd go and buy books in world classics. And in the boarding house he was staying in Mossman, eating food with a lot of gravy, and learning to drink beer, which he did on a heroic scale. How he lived to be 85, I do not know, and he was a chain smoker. But he acquired a great love, and you can all identify this, for words and the magic of words, the persuasive power of words, the character, the personality of words, the things I see young people who submitted their writing try out on the page. A love for words was a great part of his personality. For example, as a raw opposition leader, making more mistakes than I was entitled, but having a great obligation to my party and the system, I had to prepare a speech of welcome to Margaret Thatcher. The Premier of the day, Nick Greiner, who was formidable, got to speak. And they were being fair. They said the Leader of the Opposition will get to speak as well. And I got Freudenberg in and I said, I've got to make this better than the Premier's. I said, it's only a short speech of welcome. And he provided various touches for it. Just beautiful touches. But he provided me with this gentle joke. He said, he had me say, and there I was before all of Sydney society, all the top judges were there and the top business figures, and Margaret Thatcher, the celebrated Prime Minister of England, was the guest of honour with her husband Dennis, and big occasion, my hands were quaking like this, had to steady myself. And I got up there and I used Freudenberg's line. He gave me this line. He said, of course, of all the world leaders who've come here for the Australian bicentennial, only our honoured guest tonight, Prime Minister Thatcher, has been brave enough to call for a return to Victorian values. She did. She made a speech saying we need to go back to Victorian values. I could see these words were a gift to me. I could see the whole audience think, where's this idiot taking us? What's he going to do? Is he about to offend her? Is he some Labour radical who's going to offend this towering figure of conservative Britain? A return to Victorian values. But this is the only city where her call is being taken literally. It was Freudenberg's pen. He gave me this like that. It's the only city where it's been taken literally. He said, we've just reinstalled a previously mothballed statue of Queen Victoria in Queen Square, Sydney. And in the words of one of the notorious wild men of Sydney, John Norton, there she stands, one eye on Albert, a statue of her consort just across the road in front of the Barracks Museum, one eye on Albert and the other on the Mint building standing there. It was just one of those lovely touches that only someone who's deeply read could produce and then shape. And the audience was relieved I hadn't committed a mammoth blunder and offended Margaret. And she was touched. She was touched as well. And I got a good press for it. And as opposition leader, it's very hard to get credit for anything. It's the toughest job in politics. Liliana Watson wrote her piece on another big subject, and the subject is self-doubt. It's self-doubt. So she said, a lot of people expressing views on big issues, climate justice, LGBTQIA rights, mental health, gender. I admire them, she says. I really do. They speak with such certainty, like they've found one hill they're willing to stand on forever. But when I try, she writes, it doesn't come out right. It feels like I'm repeating words I've heard, and while I believe in the idea I'm conveying, it never feels genuine, as I'll never have the passion and beliefs of other advocates. And that is nailed precisely. The self-doubt that's part of being a teenager and adolescent, the self-doubt. You know, me as a kid in a fibro cottage at Matraville, admiring the great Edward Gough Whitlam, but always thinking, how would you ever know as much as him? How could I go into politics? My dream is to be a politician, but how would I ever know as much or be able to speak as well as Gough Whitlam? It's not made for a kid going to my sort of school or living in a fibro house. Self-doubt is part of adolescence, not knowing where the forces of life are going to take you, not knowing whether you are up to the challenge of your dreams and ambitions. And to me, Liliana captures that beautifully. She writes, what if we've been taught to believe that what matters has to be big, bold and broadcastable? What if, instead, it's a question we answer slowly, through living, through conversation, through mistakes, through listening? All of the things I read were outstanding. The award could have gone, the Freudenberg Award could have gone to any of them. There's an onion skin separating them in quality. It lifted my spirits to think that young people in our community can do as well, taking up the Freudenberg and the Whitlam love of the word. In the beginning was the word, the love of the word, and the difference that the mobilisation of words can make. Jumana challenged us with that bit of writing about the Syrian civil war by focusing on the great challenging theme, one that Dostoevsky addressed in The Brothers Karamazov, which is going to be placed on your reading lists as young people. Take 20 years, take 30 years to come round to it, as I did. But it's the suffering of children. How can we explain the suffering of children? As we speak here on this beautiful campus, in all the security, the support of your parents, and knowing that there's a peaceable society out there sheltering us, with all its institutions time-tested in this happy land. There are youngsters in Gaza standing outside a block of flats and being told by their parents, our home is about to be blown up, with your clothes, with your toys, with your school books in it. And what we've got to do now, we've got to be brave about this, their mum and dad would be telling them, I can imagine it, is walk through this arid stretch of country, because there are some tents waiting for us. And in those tents we'll live, with sewerage flowing outside, and with your dad having to go out and search for drinkable water for hours every night, and a real risk about going out and finding food for us to eat. And they say at the end of this process, we might be resettled in Libya or Somalia. That's what youngsters are facing in Gaza right now. We know it. And how youngsters can find the resilience to survive that, how childhood survives that, I have no idea. I just know that the antenna of youngsters here will confirm it, is so sensitive to the world around them about what's happening in the family. And I think of youngsters turning on their parents with their fists and saying, give us food. Why isn't there food? I can't imagine anything more grotesque. Or a 10-year-old boy dying in hospital with motor neurone disease because the medicines have gone and the food's gone. So all the great themes you've dared to tackle are invoked in this. Loss, bereavement, the wounding of people, dislocation, history, war, all the matters you've dared to deal with. But let's spare a thought for suffering youngsters as we celebrate the happy achievement of youngsters who's been mobilised by this great exercise in the happy atmosphere of the Whitlam Institute. And I should ask Liliana to come out, I think, John, and accept this award.
Liliana Watson from Hurlstone Agricultural High School. Congratulations. I would like to also thank again Professor the Honourable Bob Carr and the Honourable John Faulkner for presenting and introducing for this prize. Your words were quite overwhelmingly remarkable and inspirational, and a testament to the challenges of our times and to the remarkable opportunity and the brilliance of creativity of our young people. So it's an absolute pleasure to have this prize within the suite of all our prizes. As the Honourable John Faulkner said, the winner, Liliana, will be going for a day or two to Capitol Hill, and will get to meet multiple parliamentarians, shadow them, sit in question time, and embed herself within the media pack, and meet parliamentarians from both sides of politics, and really see how really important Australians from all walks of life make a difference in our life. But thank you very much for presenting and receiving that award. It's now my opportunity to introduce the speaker for our last prize, the overall winner. And I will, in a moment, call up Dr. Linda O'Brien, who is a pro-chancellor at the university here. So just this one last prize to go. I would like to thank the Museum of Australian Democracy for their sponsorship of this prize. Unfortunately, Stephanie was unable to be here today. They have a very busy platform to deliver, a program to deliver this year. But they send their best wishes, and we are very grateful for their ongoing support. Now, the overall competition winner receives a $1,500 prize, a personalized trophy, and an ABC interview with, hopefully if you are available, with Hamish MacDonald tomorrow morning, and a curated selection of books focused on active citizenship, civics, and democracy. So to present the award, I'm delighted to introduce Pro-Chancellor for Western Sydney University, Dr. Linda O'Brien. Linda. Just a little about Linda before I hand over the microphone. Linda, of course, is Pro-Chancellor and a leader in education. She is a former principal of Granville Boys High School for more than a decade and has worked in schools, in TAFE, and in universities. Linda has also supported community and peace organizations and was awarded the Member of the Order of Australia for her innovation in secondary education and service to community. Thank you, Linda.
That was most unexpected. I've been sitting in that chair watching these splendid young people come up and collect prizes and I'm delighted to be here. But also I've noticed here on this poster what matters, and it's time to raise your voice. What matters is voice, particularly students' voice. And that's what we get in the essay that is the overall winner. Writing it is an opportunity to express these ideas very strongly, but also I encourage education organisations to allow student voice and student agency. I mean, I nag a bit about it. I liked a boy one day said to me as I was taking a class, "What are you talking about?" And I thought, that's a very good question. I'm supposed to be teaching you, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, why am I talking? Why don't you start talking and tell me what you think? Because then I can start to figure out how we can come to a joint understanding of whatever the issue is that we're exploring. It's really very, very important to raise your voice. And the overall winner of this year's What Matters essay competition has a wonderful voice. It's not a shrill argument about a point of view. Nobody's screaming, nobody's yelling, nobody's being offensive, nobody's writing, in capital letters what their opinion is. But it is very strongly courageous, It's strong, and it's extremely important. It's about identity and culture. And the idea that somebody might say, I don't want to hear you, I don't listen to you, how can you possibly be somebody that you are not? And why not acknowledge? I'd like to read the last paragraph of this essay. I'm sure most of you already read it, but I think I'm going to read it again. Because we are still here. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to advocate for acknowledgement of country and the respect it deserves. I will stand up for my culture, my people, and my history. I think that is a very strong voice, and I'd like to congratulate Lakia. Everybody else.
Thank you so much, Linda, and congratulations, Lakia. Be careful with that trophy. The top comes off, so you can pack it flat in your luggage, but it'll be safely once installed in on your mantle. And you are now, of course, the pride of Coonabarabran, and we're very. We're very grateful for you and your family to have joined us, flying out of Dubbo, I believe, to get here. So thank you very much for all that you've done. So congratulations to all of our writers today. Your achievements are truly remarkable. This year, we surpassed all previous engagement records, with entries up 24% from the previous year. So the 600 words or so that each of you crafted have been identified by our talented markers as being amongst the very best in nearly 4 million words submitted this year. Just reflect on that achievement in itself. You should be immensely proud of your creative contributions. The What Matters Writing Competition, of course now in its 21st year, continues to draw inspiration from Gough Whitlam's commitment to involving young people in shaping Australia's future. We are now living in very challenging times. Since 2019, we will all remember the world has seen a global pandemic, escalating climate change, dramatic advances in digital technologies, persistent and new geopolitical conflicts, the rising cost of living, etc. Democracies everywhere are grappling with how to respond to these challenges. Young people face the immediate and the long-term consequences of the decisions that are made today. Understanding your perspective on what really matters for a just society is essential for the strengthening and the renewal of our communities and our democracy. Now, today is an auspicious day for a number of other reasons as well. And I wanted not to let this moment pass without recognizing that today is the 50th anniversary of PNG independence from Australia. It's the day that demonstrates what can be achieved by those united in a shared ambition to first imagine and then create a more just society. Decolonization meant more than simply raising a new flag. It entailed building a society grounded in justice, dignity, and local values. Those ideals still shape PNG today. In a small but significant way, the writing competition also asks us to contemplate what matters to us, our communities, our democracy. In shaping our futures, we would do well to draw inspiration from PNG. And the development of our country is not simply a matter of capital growth, but of dignity, participation, fairness, and cultural identity. That is a legacy Australians should not forget. So congratulations again to our students and their families and their teachers. I wish also to recognize and thank my team. Sarah, where are you, Sarah? Thank you very much. Sarah, of course, would be the face of this competition for many of the parents and teachers. And thank you for all the coordination that you did for this competition. But she was ably supported, of course, by a large team, being Kathy, Sandra, Melissa, Joelle, Zoe, Lisa, Carrie, Marie, Paulina, and of course, Pavey. Thank you all, team, for your wonderful support of this competition. Please now join us for some light refreshments in the room immediately behind us. Students and sponsors, though, please linger here for a few minutes longer for a group photo. But thank you and good afternoon.